You are tuned in to a CS Podcast exclusive presented by NFLDraftBible.com.
Welcome to a special edition of the CS Podcast presented by the NUC NFL Draft Bible, bringing you the names that you need to know first since 2002. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. We already have all 32 teams' draft recaps up and running. We already have big boards set for next year's draft, the 2017 NFL Draft, and I recently put out a list of my top small schoolers heading into this coming season, already about 100 names there, and you could certainly bet that those lists will continue to grow as time goes on, as we reach this season, and of course, following the season once we hit draft season. So again, check us out at NFLDraftBible.com. Use the promo code DRAFT2016 to get a 30-day free trial. And with all that said, as always, I am your host, Chris Shanafelt. And joining the show now, we have former NFL defensive back. He spent time with the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Detroit Lions, Carolina Panthers, and was, of course, a part of the 2011-2012 Super Bowl winning New York Giants team. And, of course, now he's doing some great work over at FanDuel. You could follow him on Twitter at Spoonie29, and he's Brian Witherspoon, and he joins the show now. Brian, we really appreciate you taking some time to join the program this afternoon. How's everything going?
First off, man, thanks for having me. Everything's going great. It's the weekend, but I'm still working.
Yeah. Hey, there you go. Keeping yourself busy. Nothing wrong with that. And Brian, we're about a month removed from the 2016 NFL Draft. Everything is pretty much sunk in. There's a lot of surprises there, with Myles Jack falling to the second round, day 2, along with Jalen Smith even going before Myles Jack. That was a bit of a surprise. Again, so everything is pretty much sunk in, again, about a month removed from the 2016 NFL Draft. And really there isn't an off-season in the NFL because there's news year-round. But now until training camp really is probably what you would call the slow point when it comes to news in the NFL. At least I would think teams would hope that, because if news is coming out this time of the year, it's probably nothing good. And the Jacksonville Jaguars, seeing that just a couple days ago, we'll certainly touch on that in just a bit. But let's start off by talking about that team, one of your former teams. And, if you look at what teams have done this offseason with free agency, with the NFL Draft, it's tough to look at a team and say that they had a better offseason than Jacksonville, at least on paper at this point. Again, one of your former teams, a team that you used to suit up for, absolutely knocked it out of the park in free agency and the draft. With the offseason additions that the Jaguars have made in free agency and the draft, do you think that they have a legit shot at winning the AFC South? I mean, this is a division that has gotten stronger just within the last few months. I mean, the Houston Texans have added some pieces. The Indianapolis Colts, you got to think that they'll bounce back. And Tennessee, I don't know if they really have a legit shot this year, but that they're going to be a team they'll be tough to deal with over the next few years, as they got their franchise quarterback in Marcus Mariota.
Well, yes, to kind of piggyback off of what you said, on paper and at practice, yes, they're definitely the team to beat right now with their offseason moves. But there are other factors that you have to look at in those offseason moves. The new guys that they brought in, they have to mesh well into the system because, they have to come in with a humble attitude, especially the guys who receive those $1 million contracts. And, there's a lot of egos now. Money, bigger pockets make for bigger egos. On defense, those guys coming in, this is already, I'm going to say, this is Telvin Smith's defense, the young and athletic linebacker from Florida State. But, bringing over Jackson, Prince, Gibson, you have to wonder if those guys are going to take a back seat and, come in with a certain amount of humility and, say like, hey guys, we're all here for, one goal, one objective, that's to get better, win a championship and, hopefully continue to be a contender for a very long time in that division. And, also I love the moves that they made, but I don't think that they addressed a major one in the fact that your quarterback was sacked 51 times last season. And, they've already have declined the option on Jekyll. So they're already saying that he's a bust in their eyes. So I don't really think that they address that. But if you look at everything else, the weapons that they have, you definitely have to look at Jacksonville as the favorite in that division. They have 2,000-yard wide receivers, and Robinson and the Allen brothers, Allen and Allen, as everyone likes to say. They could, in my eyes, man, this could be, if they can get that offensive line together, they could be another showing of the St. Louis Rams. They had the Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Hakeem. They had 3 very good receivers. If Marquise Lee can end up staying healthy, I think that they have a chance of having 3 wide receivers over 1,000 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? I still haven't given up hope on Marquise Lee, man. I know those hamstrings have given him a problem over the last handful of years now, even dating back to his senior year at USC. But I'm still holding out hope for Marquise Lee to have a productive NFL career. And like you said, playing alongside the Allen brothers, he certainly has it set up nicely for him. He just has to do his job and obviously be productive in the off season, in these training camp and OTAs. And just stay healthy, and I think there's a shot that he could really bounce back. And as you said, I absolutely love the comparison to the St. Louis Rams from a handful of years ago. They got the running backs in Chris Ivory, T.J. Yeldon, and obviously Blake Bortles showed a lot this past season, and certainly that offensive line is going to be key. I wouldn't say key to their success because we even seen them have success last year. But if that offensive line could tighten things up, like you said, this could certainly be the team to beat in that division. Just so much talent there, and what they've been able to do in the off season. They added some of the big time players in free agency on that defense. Again, Chris Ivory on the offense, and certainly a team that is that their arrow is certainly pointing up. And looking at what they did in the draft, it was a bit of a surprise that Jalen Ramsey fell to number 5, and they certainly took the best player available there. I think Jalen Ramsey was probably the best player in the draft. Obviously, news came out just a couple of days ago that he has a slight meniscus tear. And the Jacksonville Jaguars certainly just cannot catch a break in these off-season, in these rookie mini camps. With last year, Dante Fowler going down with an ACL tear, and this doesn't sound like it's as serious. They're saying it's a slight meniscus tear. I'm no doctor, but I'm hearing, it could be 4 to 6 weeks. It could be 4 to 6 months. So we'll just have to wait and see exactly what that diagnosis is. But as a former NFL defensive back, Brian, I certainly want to pick your brain on this. We all know Jalen Ramsey, he could play both safety, cornerback. Let's say you're the Jaguars defensive coordinator. Where are you playing Jalen Ramsey and why?
I'm playing Jalen Ramsey at corner. Just looking back at what he did at Florida State, some of the games that he did, they did play him at safety and at corner. When he was at corner, he was more involved in the defense. He had a greater impact on the game as far as, I know, of course, he can do this at safety too, but when he was at corner, he was matched up on the team's best receiver. They had him playing nickel, had him coming out the edge. He was just basically a playmaker at corner. He was very aware in the defense. He used his height, his length to shut down some of the opposing team's best wide receivers. And I think that if they play him at safety, he won't be able to do as much. Of course, you can still bring him down in big red formations and radar formations, and have him around the line of scrimmage. But I don't think he will have that big of an impact on the game as he would at corner. And looking at what Gus Bradley is doing as far as like bringing in speed and quickness on the first and second levels, you get the perception that he's bringing that formula over from Seattle, to where he's going to allow his corners to play the deep ball, make plays on the deep ball. Don't worry about the underneath stuff, because the opposing offenses probably won't even have time to get to throw those. So I think he's I'm playing Jalen Ramsey at corner, man, just because of that pass rush they probably can get, and if that ball goes in the air, I know that his hands have looked as if they are not the most reliable, but I think that that could probably change at the next level.
Hey, man, as they say, I mean, if you get an interception, that's a big plus. But, I mean, you're looking for these cornerbacks really just to bat down the ball. Just don't allow any receptions. And Jalen Ramsey has certainly proven that, he could be an elite player even at the next level. I mean, the talent is there, and certainly – the light is shining bright on him. Hopefully this knee injury isn't too serious and he won't miss too much time. And, we talked a little bit about the linebackers that Jacksonville has. You mentioned Telvin Smith and how it's probably his defense, one of the NFL's leading tacklers last season. We touched on the defensive line, then bringing in Malik Jackson, the $100 million man from Denver. Yeah. And I'm looking at this secondary. This secondary might actually be the strongest point of this Jacksonville Jaguars defense with Jalen Ramsey. They added to Sean Gibson from Cleveland, Prince Amukamara from New York, and of course they still have Aaron Colvin, a very nice young talent. I mean, this secondary isn't anything to play with, and now you add Jalen Ramsey there.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're all very athletic in the secondary. You bring over a guy like Prince from New York, very consistent corner. Didn't make a lot of mistakes in New York. Showed that he was very reliable when he was healthy. You bring Gibson over from Cleveland, who improved drastically from year one to up until now, being back there learning from T.J. Ward. So you bring a lot of guys who have a lot of experience, who can teach these young guys how to be professionals, how to go about your day, what it takes to be successful at the next level. So I think they've done a great job of bringing in veterans who can, guide these young good athletes into being special players.
Again, we're chatting with the former NFL defensive back doing some great work now at FanDuel. And again, you can follow him on Twitter. I'd say he's a must follow on Twitter at Spoonie29. He's Brian Witherspoon here on the CS podcast presented by the NFL Draft Bible. Visit NFLDraftBible.com. And Brian, both Myles Jack and Jalen Smith, I mean, there's no doubt that they're first round talents. They obviously fell to the second round due to two totally different knee injuries. Do you believe that these guys can get back to the players that they once were? I mean, these were, top 5, top 3 talents in this draft class. Unfortunately, these knee injuries made them fall to the second round. Do you think that these guys could, somehow, some way still bounce back and have a very productive, 10+ year NFL career?
We're looking at the severity of each individual's injury. To touch on Jalen Smith's injuries first, I would say that Jalen can eventually get back to where he was, but I mean, with that nerve, it's just really hard to say, because that could be tomorrow, that could be a couple of months, that could be a year, 2 years. And talking to a couple of sources, they believe that he's never going to play football again. They believe that nerve is not going to come back, and that basically Dallas wasted a pick on a young man who it was very unfortunate that he went down with that type of knee injury. But if it was to come back, I definitely believe that the type of athlete that Jalen Smith was, he'll have no problem coming back and being that enforcer on Dallas's defense. And Lord knows they need it. They need a guy who can run around, make plays, attack the ball downhill. And the same with Myles Jack. Both of these guys are great at finding the ball, see ball, get ball type of players. Aggressive. I like them because they're attacking. A lot of linebackers, in my opinion, in the NFL now, they wait for the contact to come to them, but these guys bring the contact. And like I said, they're just very versatile, man. They can run with anybody. They can cover anybody. I mean, I really hope that these knee injuries don't slow these guys down. In terms of Myles Jack, I know Jalen's going to be slowed down for quite a bit right now, but But I really do think that these guys can make a comeback, man, and be the impact players that we expect them to be.
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, again, top 5 talents right here. Fell to the second round due to these knee injuries. Miles Jack with the meniscus and Jalen Ramsey with the ACL. And, those are 2 guys that it's an offensive league. People love watching offenses. Those are 2 guys that'll make watching defense even more fun. NFL fans, I have to think. So I certainly hope you're right about that. And switching gears now to the offensive side of the ball, Brian, I mean, we got to take a look at the quarterbacks. Both the Rams and the Eagles traded a boatload of picks to acquire the first and second overall picks in the draft, in which the Rams selected Jared Goff out of Cal, and the Eagles selected Carson Wentz out of North Dakota State. Do you believe that the better quarterback went number 1 overall, and do you actually believe that we'll see Carson Wentz sit for at least his entire rookie season? Because as of right now, that's kind of how the Eagles are making it sound. Carson Wentz will sit behind Sam Bradford and Chase Daniel for at least this year. But we were just talking about Jacksonville, and they're trying to send out the same notions about Blake Bortles, and I think it wasn't even about a month into the season when we seen Blake Bortles.
Well, looking at the team and looking at the LA Rams, I think that for their system and their situation, yes, they got their best quarterback in Goff. But I believe that Wentz went to a better situation than Goff, because if you look at Goff here, and this could go either way. You can look at his record at Cal and you can say, oh, well, wow, does this guy even know how to win? Like, how's that going to translate to the next level? Because he was 14-23 at Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, that might not seem like a lot to scouts or maybe to teams, but being a player, if you're used to losing, you still have that lack of confidence in your game. And it's going to take a while for that to change. I mean, of course, the guy made some amazing throws. He did some great things while he was at Cal, but I'm eager to see how he's going to shrug off not being a winner at Cal. And as far as Wentz is concerned, I believe that Wentz went to a better situation. And what I mean by that is he doesn't have to go in with the mentality of, well, I have to win now. I have to come in. I have to show these guys that they made the right pick. I was the guy that they should have went after. He can go in, learn from Chase Daniels, learn from Sam Bradford, learn what to do, what not to do. He has a better core around him in receivers. He has Matthews, Ertz, Nelson. He has a better all-around defense in his back pocket than the LA Rams. So, I mean, I think that, looking long-term here, I think that Wentz is going to have, a better career. And plus the fact that when you look at Wentz, and the more I went back and watched this film, he reminds you of a guy that Doug Peterson used to coach in Kansas City, and that's Alex Smith. Mm-hmm. He can throw the ball down the field, but probably doesn't have to. He can control the game manager, make the right decisions. Now, the only thing that I can say about Wentz is he didn't have a lot of experience while in North Dakota State, because he didn't start all 4 years. So, that might be, I know that was one of the things that a lot of teams looked at. Well, he's so young and playing and getting that type of experience, and but I don't think that'll hurt him, because he left college as a winner. So I think both teams got the correct guy for their system. And I'm kind of I'm asking you, I'm pretty scared for Goff, because you bring in a quarterback who you put all this pressure on. You don't have anyone around him except for Gurley and maybe Tavon Austin, but I mean, Tavon Austin's 5'8", 160 pounds. He's been carrying such a load on that offense. And, he kind of reminded me of Devin Hester from 2006, 2007. Like, he was the team's offense. he scored on runs, he scored on punt returns, he scored on passes. So, I mean, the Rams, I think the Rams have to do a better job of surrounding Goff with some players to take that pressure off him besides Austin and Gurley. They got to get some more role players around him.
Absolutely. And I think we could agree on one, or actually I think we could agree on two things, all right? I think Jared Goff, I think the Rams have a better option now than going to Nick Foles or Case Keenum, so that's a plus for the Los Angeles Rams. And I think, Brian, I think you would agree with me on this, that, it's a quarterback league. Obviously, these teams, they didn't have their future starter or their starter for the future. So they went up and got these guys. They obviously believe in them quite a bit, seeing as the picks and everything, the future that they traded for these guys. But I think it's safe to say that in the end, I mean, these two were not the best players in the draft. It's just a quarterback league. It's an offensive league. And, these two teams really needed to get these guys. And that's certainly what they did. It'll be interesting to see how these two are compared with each other, over the next few years, as we see with, Andrew Luck and RG3 and past quarterbacks that go 1 and 2. And again, he's Brian Witherspoon, the Super Bowl champ Brian Witherspoon, now doing some work for FanDuel, joining us here on the CS podcast presented by the NFL Draft Bible. And Brian, just a couple more questions for you, and then I'll let you go. Really do appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun. Now we're in Chicago, broadcasting out of Chicago, born and raised from Chicago, Brian. So I got to get your thoughts on what the Chicago Bears did in the draft. They traded up 2 picks to number 9 overall to select Leonard Floyd, the outside linebacker out of Georgia. This is a guy that really performed well at the NFL Combine. He was, probably the fastest pass rusher in the draft. So he'll bring much-needed speed to the Bears' defense. And I've heard a lot of guys say that Leonard Floyd is a guy that'll have a better pro career than collegiate career. He'll be working with a couple of really good defensive-minded coaches that I got to think will get the most out of him in John Fox, in Vic Fangio. But what's your take on the Bears trading up to get their guy Leonard Floyd at number 9 overall?
I think it was a smart move. One, because the Giants were going to take him at 10. That was confirmed to me. So he was going top. He was a top 10 pick, regardless of anyone trading up to get him. And also, just looking at the Bears, there is no more monsters of the midway mentality in Chicago, and I think they did a good job this offseason of adding some pieces to that puzzle. And, by getting Floyd in the draft, they get more speed, more physicality on defense. Because if you look at 2 teams in that division, the Vikings and the Packers love to use Randall Cobb in the slot. Now you don't have to be so quick to maybe bring in an extra DB. You can leave Floyd on the field. Matter of fact, I think his 40 time might have been faster than Randall Cobb's. So the guy can run with him. Then you have Adrian Peterson in Minnesota, who's a very physical back, and Leonard Floyd is a very physical linebacker. He loves to come up and hit. He's not afraid of contact. So when you talk about a guy who can help you in both the run game and the pass game, I think they got that's an A+ for me, because in this league now, if you're a linebacker and all you can do is play the run, you're useless. Like there is no need for you to be on the field. So I think the Bears got a 2-for-1 here. You got a guy who can play the run and the pass, who you don't have to bring off the field to bring in that extra nickel back. And I love it, man. It was a great pick. I was very impressed with this pick.
Does the size concern you at all? I mean, he has the height. I believe he's about 6'6", but he's about 230, 235, and Vic Fangio said earlier in the week that that's probably going to be his playing weight. I mean, I'm sure they're going to try getting a little bit more weight put on him, but, he's probably not going to weigh any more than, 240 if they're lucky. Does that concern you at all? Because I got to think a guy like Adrian Peterson is probably licking his chops.
Not really. Because you look at teams, you look at the Arizona Cardinals and what they did with Deion Buchanan, a smaller type linebacker. Well, it really was a safety, but they moved him to linebacker. The kid was only about 210, 220, moved him to linebacker, and you've seen the impact that he had on the passing game out there in Arizona, and as far as like the run game is, having that first quick step to attack the ball downhill and sideline to sideline. And I think, man, that's somewhat what Floyd may be, that second guy who gets a crack at doing that, and maybe starting and maybe making this trend a lot stronger in the NFL. Smaller, more versatile linebackers. 6'6", 220, 230, like that is a little small because of the height, but it doesn't concern me.
Okay, and you know what? Another linebacker that kind of pops into my mind is another former Georgia Bulldog, and that's Thomas Davis, who, of course, played safety in his college days and really made the transition very smoothly to linebacker in the NFL, and just has had a great career despite tearing his ACL not once, not twice, but 3 times. Finally, Brian, again, your time has been greatly appreciated. It's been a ton of fun. We're certainly going to have to do this again in the future. You recently wrote a piece on FanDuel.com titled Late Round NFL Draft Picks That Could Quickly Help Their Teams in 2016. And the first prospect you mentioned was certainly one of my favorite picks in the entire NFL draft. I think Chicago Bears fans should be ecstatic that they got this guy in the 7th round, and that's wide receiver Daniel Braverman out of Western Michigan, again, going to the Bears in round 7. I mean, watching this guy's tape, I mean, it's really just an absolute treat, if I must say so. I mean, he's extremely shifty, has great, runs great routes, runs really crisp routes, and is really fantastic after the catch. Always making the first tackler miss, and seems like it'll be a great compliment to what the Bears have with Alshon Jeffrey. They got Kevin White coming back. Of course, those two guys will be on the outside. You got to think Daniel Braverman will have a legit shot to challenge Eddie Royal for that slot position. Tell us why you think Braverman can have success in year 1 with the Bears, and exactly how much value did the Bears get in round 7?
I think Braverman was a 4th to 5th round value for the Bears that they got in round 7. And you hit the nail on the head, man, saying that, with White and Jeffries on the outside, and even Royal being that 3rd receiver, I think that Braverman can come in and get that and grab that 4th spot, because this is a pass-driven league. 10 and 11 personnel is becoming the norm now. So you bring in a guy like Braverman, who's a spacing type of guy. He could instantly fit in the Patriots offense. And I think that's the type of skill set that he can bring to the Bears. I mean, you just get this guy in one-on-one situations with defenders, and he can make that first man miss and get those yak yards. And I think that was one of the things that the Bears were missing last year. Eddie Royal has been a speed guy, but he's getting up there in age, and that second year is just not there anymore that he used to have. And now you bring in a guy like Braverman who can catch the ball over the middle, who can go deep over the middle, who can give you a little more, who can spread the ball out over the field a lot more, hash to hash, deep to short, short to deep. You can put him in and swing him across on those jet sweeps. I think that, man, he can, all you got to do is just get the ball in this guy's hand, and he can put on a show. I was very impressed with watching his film, man, at Western Michigan. I don't know how this guy even slipped to the 7th round. If you want to talk about slot receivers, I think that he was right up there with Sterling Shepard of Oklahoma. Maybe the route running wasn't as crisp as Shepard's, but as far as, the hands and being able to separate from defenders and making the tough catches and just showing the versatility that he can bring to an offense, I think he was neck and neck. Like I said, I was surprised that he fell this far. And, I don't think beating out Marquise Wilson for that 4th spot would be no problem for him. He probably can come in and contribute on special teams as well. I think this was a sneaky pick, a sneaky good pick.
Yeah, and this is a guy, like you said, I mean, totally fell under the radar. the tape is, again, just a treat to watch, very fun, and he does just about everything you want in a wide receiver, especially a guy that, projects to be a slot receiver at the next level. And, second in the nation in receptions this past season in all of college football. That says it right there. And as you said, I could see this guy having a major impact on the Bears offense year one. In the slot, out, in between Alshon and Kevin White. It's going to be a lot of fun, no doubt about that. Brian, that's about all we have for this afternoon. Went a little longer than expected, but like I said, a ton of fun. Really appreciate you jumping on. And before I let you go, please tell the listeners where we could check out your work at, and go ahead and shout out your Twitter handle and all that good stuff, man.
All right, well, for the listeners, follow me on Twitter at Spoonie29, Spoonie29 at SPONY29. Check out my work on FanDuel.com/insider. Like I said, follow the Twitter handle. I'm always talking about football, always giving my opinion on things. Just follow me.
Hey, there you have it. Hey, Brian, we appreciate it, man. Hopefully we can do this again down the line. And, again, have a great weekend and all the best, man.
You too. Thanks for having me, Chris.
There he goes, Brian Witherspoon, the former NFL Super Bowl winning defensive back. Just great knowledge on the game and a lot of fun to talk NFL draft and, all things NFL with him. Pick his brain a little bit, a guy that was in the locker rooms at one point and certainly knows the game of football. And, again, just a lot of great stuff there. Again, be sure to follow him on Twitter at Spoonie29, a must follow. And that'll wrap it up for today's show. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Chris Shanafelt. Be sure to check out the NFL Draft Bible, NFLDraftBible.com. Promo code DRAFT2016 for a 30-day free trial. And follow on Twitter at NFL Draft Bible. Thanks for tuning in.